to order. We have concluded with executive session with nothing left to report. And if we could resume the public session and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our student representative, Ms. Townsend.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Good evening again, everyone. Just as a reminder of the emergency exit locations, in the event of an emergency, please leave in an orderly fashion through these exits. To my right and the audience left, and immediately to the rear of the building. And also, as a reminder that South Country School District is a smoke-free school district. Smoking is not permitted anywhere in the building or anywhere on school grounds. This is also a hate-free and bully-free school district. And with that, I'd like to welcome you to tonight's meeting. And we will begin with the consent agenda. Mr. Superintendent?
Thank you, President Felice. The administration recommends the approval of board consent items reflected in Schedules C1 through C5.
Okay, you have C1 through C5 before you. Is there a motion and a second to approve? Motion by trustee Flippin, seconded by trustee Barry. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. And now we are up to communication and announcements, and the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Felice. It's been a little bit since our last board meeting, so I have a lot to catch everyone up on. A lot of good things happening in South Country, so I'm going to get right to it. First and foremost, after our last meeting, we had a couple more fall celebrations and Halloween celebrations. We had our Trunk or Treat Street at Frank P. Long, Trunk or Treat Street at Kramer Kingdom, and some crazy times. You see Principal Clark there having, I think, too much of a good time. And the high school, various clubs and student senate hosted Safe Halloween at Belport High School. I was really pleased about that one event, not just because it was a great community event, but we actually were able to give out all the books from our South Country mobile library. So a lot of students and young learners came to the event and picked up some reading books, which is always fantastic. So I want to give a special shout out, obviously, to all the students and staff involved, our community members, but especially to our PTAs who organize these events. We also acknowledge Veterans Day, and it's never, I feel like we should appreciate the service of our veterans on a daily basis, but on Monday, the middle school hosted Bring a Veteran to School Day. It was nice to see that some of our actual staff members, like Mr. Watkins and Mr. Rashan, I'll call him Mr. Rashan, our safety officer as he's known in the middle school, are both veterans of the Army. So they got to share some of their experiences and talk about their service to the country. And I'm sure everyone will join me in wishing for their safety, especially during these tumultuous times. Moving on, we have one of the cast members here. But I had a great time going to see How to Survive the Zombie Apocalypse. They gave about 10 sort of strategies to survive the zombie apocalypse, and it's exactly what we needed. It was a silly play, and I don't see that as a criticism. We needed some silliness, and I laughed. The cast was great. It was just a great time, so I appreciated just being there. It was a nice Friday night to be out. The show was performed on both Friday and Saturday, so keep up with the good work. I love our performing arts program. We have so much talent both on and off stage. Moving on with a fall sports update. First and foremost, our cross-country team, for the first time I think in 10 years, both the girls and boys varsity cross-country teams made the divisional race. Ella Mason, once again, impressed by placing 9th in the state competition. And she'll be racing this weekend in the Federation race, which puts together all high school students from private, parochial, public schools. And she was also named as the first team All-State Honors. So congratulations to our cross-country team and to Ella Mason. We wish her luck on this week's competition. Our girls volleyball varsity team also had a playoff berth and had a great season, as well as our football team, who made a playoff berth once again. So I just want to congratulate all of our sports athletes, or our fall athletes, I should say, for great seasons and being such a great source of Clipper pride. We started our winter sports season, and judging by the weather, it's certainly starting to feel like winter. But for high school, we're going to enjoy basketball, both varsity and junior varsity, varsity bowling, varsity winter track, varsity wrestling, varsity cheerleading, and for basketball, it's actually both boys and girls basketball teams. And also, it should be noted that any sport with an asterisk is co-ed. So we have numerous girls who participate in our wrestling program. We have yet to have any boys participate in the cheerleading program, but I feel like it's only a matter of time. At the middle school, we have the early winter season, which includes boys basketball, girls volleyball, and girls cheerleading. And then that winter season is split into two. In the late season, we'll have wrestling and girls basketball. And finally, at Frank P. Long, we'll be enjoying intramurals, which have started. In terms of Red Ribbon Week was also observed from October 23rd to October 31st. Basically, it's a week dedicated to creating awareness on substance abuse and making healthy choices. Each of our buildings had thematic weeks where they wore certain colors representing different things that create awareness. And again, drug prevention. The use of drugs can really be detrimental, especially for people or young people whose brains aren't fully developed. So we keep pushing sort of this message to make healthy choices, to stay away from substances. And even for students who will report that they're sort of self-medicating or using certain substances to medicate themselves, the research shows that some of these things actually exasperates things like anxiety and mental health and depression. So again, we're going to emphasize, making healthy choices. And I'm happy to report that our Drug-Free Communities Grant was extended. This is what funds our Compass Unity program and our drug prevention program here at the district. So we were able to successfully apply for an extension. We'll be reapplying for the 5-year grant for the subsequent school year. School safety is both physical and social, emotional. I was able to attend a NYSBA-sponsored safety meeting that featured various people from law enforcement, from elected officials to talk about all things from cybersecurity to school building security. We went over some of our sort of protocols for lockdowns. So, we're keeping up to pace with, the latest sort of recommendations. Some of these recommendations are somewhat fluid. I hate the fact that we have to talk about lockdown drills or the potential of someone trying to cause harm in our learning community. It's a reality of the world we live in. More than that, something to be mindful of is cybersecurity and sort of attacks on school districts that include, asks for like ransom or ransomware. So we're really looking at our security sort of mechanisms, cybersecurity, I should say. Really happy to have Crystal Albrecht on board. She's been on top of it, and we've already made some sort of changes to our systems to ensure the safety of our infrastructure, our digital infrastructure. In terms of like social emotional health, one of the civics presentations that was hosted at the middle school dealt with racism in general, which is a topic that sometimes is tough to discuss. But we discuss it openly because I feel like people need to feel uncomfortable for there to be progress. And the idea is to really like join in these discussions and in the discussions that embody our whole community together. We had Khalik Ahmed visit. He's a Bellport alumni, photographer. He visited the high school last year. He did a presentation for our middle school students this year. And his emphasis, again, was that we're all brothers and sisters in the struggle. None of these discussions are meant to sort of make anyone feel uncomfortable. But at the same time, everybody should feel uncomfortable when we talk about things like racism because it is an uncomfortable topic. But I like the idea that we face it, we discuss it, and again, all in the sort of the goal to bring people together. And I always love to say this, the students in our classrooms have no stake in our history, but they certainly have a stake in our future. And we want to make sure that, we're all tolerant and accepting of one another and embracing diversity, which is certainly true and emblematic of the South Country Central School District. Moving on to just some learning, I was able to attend the convention up in Buffalo, NYSBA convention. I attended a pre-law conference that covered everything from managing student behavior and some of the changes that are coming down the pipe, updates in special education, collective bargaining in certain economic times, and certainly the state perspective on public education. Some of the other seminar topics that were covered were state revenue in our school budgets, suspension disproportionality, which is the idea of basically promoting the disruption of bias-based beliefs, and again, more collective bargaining updates. There was also a fitting tribute to longtime board member and someone who's really held in high esteem, Fred J. Langstaff. He was a board member serving school community for many, many years, and we lost him way too early in his life. And I really enjoyed the tribute and learning some about some of the contributions he's made. And the real highlight was the keynote address by Reverend Toby Naomi Tutu. This is Desmond Tutu's daughter. Desmond Tutu won the Nobel Peace Prize for his work regarding apartheid. And her message was really encouraging because having grown up in apartheid South Africa, she still had a message of reconciliation and hope, and again, in humanity. And just being, again, we promote kindness in the South Country School District and appreciating diversity. That's certainly what she was talking about on like a more global level. And she was funny, so it's that's when the topic seems heavy, but she was a great orator and presenter. And I learned a lot about life in South Africa during those times. I thought I was kind of well versed in it until you hear first account of, sort of stories and experiences for someone who lived it. So it was really inspiring to hear her talk. And Ubuntu is an African proverb that means I am because we are. And basically, there's no separation between you as an individual and you and your community. So when you do harm to others, it's like you're doing harm to yourself. And so the promotion in this proverb is like, why not be kind to people? And it's kind of related to karma, in that you get back what you put out. And certainly we foster positive environments. That's what we're going to manifest for ourselves as well. But it was really inspiring. Going on with education, the Blue Ribbon Commission report was released on Monday. Beth Doyle, who's sitting behind me, was right to it and already met with our district director to see exactly what this means, and what the impact will be on school districts. Just to kind of sum it up, there's 4 main categories that they looked at, which was basically the the creation of multiple pathways toward graduation, the review of our assessment or review of assessment flexibility, creating meaningful more tasks, and again looking at sort of the diversity or the assessments we produce. And they also kind of produced this portrait of what a graduate should look like. In summation, there are 6 main points I got from just looking at this very briefly. It's a long document, and this is going to involve many discussions moving forward. But first is the idea of replacing the 3 diploma types with 1 diploma type with the options to add seals and endorsements. Another highlight from the report is to include civic responsibility, cultural competence, financial literacy, fine and performing arts, STEM, writing skills for real-world scenarios, ensure access to career and technical education and work-based learning, the reorganization of credit requirements. And what they mean by that, so instead of having to get 4 credits in math, you may need to get 8 credits in STEM, which could be a combination of science and math depending on student interest. Right now it's pretty rigorous in that you have to get the 3 credits in math, or 4 credits in math, etc. And finally, reduce and or modify diploma assessment requirements. Currently, students have to pass 5 Regents exams to get a diploma. No matter if they pass every class, if they fail one of these Regents exams, they're not eligible for a New York State diploma. And what I loved about hearing this is that when you look at it, South Country is kind of ahead of the curve in a lot of these areas. When it comes to civics education, over 90% of our students get the civic seal of civic readiness. We certainly have been ahead of the curve in terms of equity and DEI work, literacy, and that's a credit to Beth Doyle, the team of directors, and of course our BTA, our teachers, who really have been sort of ahead of the curve in sort of addressing some of these things. So I'll keep the board posted on what these means, or what this new report means for school districts. And again, it's a work in progress. Having said that, nothing captures our work than our sort of agenda for Superintendent's Conference Day. And I know these aren't legible, but I was really amazed and impressed by the menu of options teachers had. We hosted 6 different sessions, learning sessions. Teachers signed up for 5, and they had 1 break for lunch. But a lot of the sessions were led by teachers. And the idea is about building capacity in our school district. We have a lot of great professionals here, a lot of knowledgeable staff members. Why not use them as a resource? And we saw that manifest itself in our Superintendent's Conference Day. And despite the title of the day, I can't take any credit for this. Sure, I give support, but the credit goes again to Beth Doyle, our district directors, the content directors, our teachers, and everybody who participated in this. It really was a fantastic day of learning. I was really impressed. Certainly a source of Clipper pride. And they covered everything from math toolkits to literacy to restorative practices, even how to get funds from Donors Choose. so we saw a big jump in teachers applying for donors choose grants as well. And in addition, what was a little different this year is we invited our safety officers to participate. Some sat in on sessions on restorative practices. They also were trained in crisis prevention and intervention, which are de-escalation techniques. Some of our teaching assistants participated, and our school nurses also had training sessions as well. So a really productive day, and I just want to thank everyone who was involved. And a special shout out to Jack Burke, who created this digital sort of menu of options for our teachers that kept track of data, who attended what, so we can best prepare for even better conference day in subsequent years. Moving on, tomorrow, if you want to learn about some of our instructional programs with the high school, I invite people to come to our curriculum fair. It's going to be hosted tomorrow at Belport High School at 6 p.m. Each of the respective departments will have presentations. The high school went all out in planning this. There'll even be childcare if people have young ones that they want to bring along and they want to go and experience some of the course offerings and some of the things we do at Belport High School. So I encourage community members to go out to our community curriculum fair tomorrow, which will be at the high school at 6 p.m. Again, I want to thank Beth Doyle, the high school administration, teachers who are participating, and students who are participating for making this night possible. I certainly will report back on it at our next board meeting. Moving on, we also had a nice opening ceremony for the dual language library at Brookhaven Elementary School, which is really like a phenomenal sort of space. There are over 250 titles that are available in 2 languages. There are digital resources that include multiple reading levels. Even the digital resources are organized by bookshelves digitally. So if a teacher needs to look some up resources, it's right there, it's categorized. It certainly fed my OCD because it was so neat and organized. So a big shout out to Dr. Raymond, Brookhaven school staff for this fantastic work. In fact, the work again is being recognized. Just today, members of the Three Village School District came to visit the school to see some of our practices, to sort of learn from us. So it's a great accolade to Brookhaven and the great work Dr. Raymond is doing and the teachers from Brookhaven as well. There was a poem I'm not going to read on the benefits of being bilingual. It's really touching to me as someone who learned English in school. I was a former English language learner. And to that end, I felt especially proud to represent the South Country School District in a live radio interview, my first ever, on NVivo 93.3 FM, and I did the entire interview in Spanish. So really brought tears to my mother when I let her listen to the audio recording of the interview. I got to highlight a lot of the philosophies and things we're doing in South Country, which was fantastic. And the invite came from Natasha Torres, who's a Belport High School alumni, former English language learner, who's now getting her graduate degree. She originally worked for SEPTA Mujer, that organization based out of Patchogue, and now is working for the radio station while she's getting her master's degree. So big source of clip of pride, Natasha Torres. Moving on to more community involvement and beyond, I got to go bowling with the Badges, which is organized by Compass Unity. Shout out to Regina Hutt and Tisha Robinson for organizing this little event for our middle school students to have a chance to bowl with some Suffolk County police officers. I also visited the Brookhaven Free Library to see some of the resources they have. And what a great space. It's historic, it's beautiful, it's a great resource for our community. I got to sit in sort of a mom and a young learner sort of a workshop, and I'm really eager to see some of these young kids join our learning community in the years to come. I also visited with our Suffolk County DA, attorney, who gave proclamations to 2 of our students for their artwork that was featured both in their annual report and also in the DA's office. So I was very pleased to have some of our students submit work and were selected, and those are the students pictured there, and I apologize, I did not write their names, but they're currently in 6th grade, and when their work was accepted and awarded this little prestigious accolade, they were back in 5th grade, back at Frank P. Long. So shout out to our art department and our art teachers working with these students and inspire them to be artistic. And just yesterday I was able to visit Belport High School. Our Center of Excellence is a club that promotes leadership skills, student academic achievement, and self-esteem. So those students went down to the Boys and Girls Club to see what resources are available there, to find out how they can best support our community and help younger learners make good choices. And I do want to give credit to Kim Livingston and Ms. Adams over at the Boys and Girls Club for always hosting our students and serving our community well. Talking about community, there is one organization that is just as generous, if not more generous. We've always been really kind to the South Country Central School District. Of course, I'm talking about the South Country Education Foundation. Once again, they were very generous in the grants that were awarded and accepted by the school board last time around. But these grants help us fund great field trips, which are centered on learning, to places like the Federal Reserve Bank, Brookhaven National Library, and Museo del Barrio, which is in New York, and of course the Math Museum. You didn't know it existed. I actually knew the founder, who was a board member at Three Village when I worked there as an administrator, who founded this Museum of Math in Manhattan. So we're excited to have our students participate in those experiences. They also sponsored the purchase of culturally responsive books, great classroom and school equipment, including modular furniture, which is sort of a trend now. We want to be able to change sort of the dynamics of classrooms. Stand-up desks or workstations for students so they can do peer editing, which is also fantastic, and great learning opportunities through local organizations like SEED, Day in Clay, which featured a prominent artist working with clay, and of course kids love making pizza, so of course how to make a pizza down in the village. So I want to thank the South Country Education Foundation for again awarding over $50,000 in grants for our school district just this fall. I want to say thank you and present you with a certificate. So on behalf of the school board and myself, come on up, a certificate of appreciation. Thank you so much. And finally, I can't keep up with everything that's happening in the district as much as I like to post to social media, but I encourage our community members to please log on to the community portal and subscribe to Blackboard Connect. You'll get more official correspondence using that. We also have a new link for all of our social media links. They are quite numerous these days. Everything from our math department, student senate. A lot of great things are happening. It's made me feel very guilty because I used to be at the forefront of posting, and I'm lagging way behind. So, please check out our social media links, support us, and really learn about all the great things that are happening in our school district. There's also a superintendent's corner. It's basically a monthly update that I post. My contact information, my X feed, it's not Twitter anymore, and my weekly update, which is basically a weekly blog that I post on our website. And that concludes my report. Once again, we have a lot of great things happening, and we are looking forward to continuing the great work.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the applause.
That brings us to the trustee and advisory committee reports, and we'll go around the horseshoe, and we'll start with Ms. Johnson.
Last week, we met with building administration to speak about concerns among the student body. They took our concerns into consideration and have since made changes to better our school. This Saturday, the Athletes Helping Others Club, supervised by Mr. Grassi, will be polar plunging with the town of Brookhaven to raise money and awareness for Special Olympics. The money raised goes to the Special Olympics organization, which helps bring sports year-round to students with disabilities. On November 21st, Bellport will be celebrating peace. During times of conflict, we support peace. Student Council has been making posters, getting decorations and balloons ready, and making white ribbons to hand out to students as they enter the building. We are also having students write positive messages on slips of paper, which will be put on a poster and sent to the UN for display there. The purpose of this day is to show our support and peace during conflict. We have also included the middle school in this event to spread it out to other schools in the district. For the food drive, we have been collecting items and packing up meal boxes that include a full Thanksgiving meal for families in need in our community. The boxes also include meals for before and after Thanksgiving. These boxes will be brought to the Lighthouse Mission on Tuesday, and we will continue to collect food items for Christmas so families still have food throughout the holidays. We have also been collecting toys for children ranging 2 to 18 years old. Clubs are also collecting so we can put together as many gifts as possible for families in need during the holidays. If anyone has any donations, you can bring them to Bellport High School. That's everything.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll continue?
Nothing other than
Okay, anything? Trustee Barry?
Nothing to report.
Okay. No. Okay. I just have one item I'd like to speak about. Chris Maresco is here from our PTA council, and he and the parents are doing a wonderful job at raising money for the students. And which class is this? Is this 24, 25? Class of 24? Class of 24. So you are selling candy bars, and I invited him to come here today, and anyone in the room who wants a candy bar, I will sponsor your candy bar tonight to help with your fundraising efforts. So.
Thank you for supporting the PTA.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So if you want to just do a quick perusal, whoever wants it, you let me know what I owe you before you want to run out. We'll take care of what you want to do.
I'll take one.
Don't be shy.
You know what we're doing now, go around with this thing.
That's what I promised you. I promised you that anybody who came
All right.
tonight, if they wanted a candy bar, they would get a candy bar. All right?
He's the council. He's council.
All right? So we're going to continue on with our meeting while you solicit candy to our guests here tonight. But also just to dovetail off of what the superintendent reported about Brookhaven bilingual. The bilingual library. It was a very nice event, and I was overwhelmed with the emotion of the teachers and the educators and the support staff who put the library together, and just how much of a passion it was to them to get it done. And it was just, it was really a labor of love by everybody involved, and I was very happy to be there and join you in that celebration. So that brings us up to public commentary for agenda items. We have no agenda item commentary, and that will bring us to items for discussion and action. Actually, this is presentation, I believe?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, both.
okay, so
Item
item
for
F.
discussion and action. And so first, thank you, President of Police. And please don't be shy, take your candy. I'm really happy to have EF Tours here. Ms. Katrina Fair is here representing the company. So just the impetus of us bringing EF Tours came from both parents and staff. EF Tours basically organizes global trips for students and staff. It's something that a few parents have come to me and inquired about the possibility of bringing that back to South Country, as well as staff members who have done it in the past. So I said, why not? When I went up to Saratoga for the superintendent's conference, I ran into EF Tours, and we had a great conversation. So I said, why not? And they've had some preliminary conversations with staff members here at both the middle school and high school level. So at this point, I want to introduce Ms. Katrina Fair from EF Tours. I'm just going to set your presentation up, and she'll take it from here. You have to compete with candy.
Oh, it's tough.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Superintendent. Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for having me. So my name is Katrina. I work with EF Educational Tours, and I support schools and districts across Long Island and help them bring travel-based learning opportunities to their students across the districts. I also live in Brooklyn, so I'm very close by. I am lucky enough to spend a lot of time on the island with the educators that lead these tours and with the district leadership. So I'm excited to share a little bit more with you. So before we dive in, I just want to share a little bit about my personal tie with educational travel. So I was able to travel internationally for the first time as a middle school student. I went to Panama. I did a service trip, and this service trip absolutely changed my life. I was able to see a new culture, experience new foods, have new conversations, and really it just opened up my eyes to a world that was outside of my bubble, something I wasn't seeing, something I wasn't doing, and it really just gave me the confidence to be a leader, to continue to travel into my adulthood, and it has led me to this career in educational travel. And so I truly wouldn't be here without that initial formative experience as a student. So really quickly, a few things to cover. I'm going to try to be very concise. I'm going to be respectful of everyone's time this evening, but just a little bit on who is EF, opportunities for you and your district, why educational travel, a little bit about worldwide support and safety, because this is, of course, number one on our minds, a little bit about next steps, and then a quick Q&A. So I'll be quick. All right, so who is EF? So we are the world leader in international education. We are a family-owned company. We were founded back in 1965, and we have been leading tours ever since. We do have products that really range across the gamut of things, from cultural exchanges to academic achievements to language learning, and of course educational travel. So we do have a large number of educators, a large number of offices, and we are a global company, which allows us to provide on-the-ground support for any student or teacher that is traveling with us. And we're also accredited just like your schools, so we are able to provide credits for your students if you so choose. All right, so why educational travel? It's really because families want these opportunities on the island. They want their students to explore. They want them to gain the confidence that maybe not possible in the classroom. So it introduces new ways of learning. It provides innovative and hands-on skills for students. It gets them off their phones, interacting with the world around them, and it really complements the academic curriculum because we do offer an array of tours that support everything that your educators are teaching in the classroom. And it also provides the students the opportunities to discover their passions. Beyond high school, will they study abroad in college? What are they going to do with their careers? So it really helps them with that career readiness that sometimes you can't get in the walls of the classroom. So a little bit on what we offer. So we have a large array of tours that really align with your academic curriculums. So we have our educational tours. We have middle school focus tours, language and culture tours, which of course are focused on our language educators. We have STEM tours, so science, technology, engineering, math, covers all of those. We have global leadership summits, which are really focused on building leadership in students as they're traveling the world. We also have service learning tours, which are of course focused on service. So if you want that community service aspect in a tour, we are able to provide that as well. And then we also have custom opportunities. So if you had an educator with a vision, a very specific vision in mind, we're definitely able to work with them to create the perfect experience. And really, at the end of the day, you could do this on your own, but it comes down to our support that we're able to provide to you and your educators, both pre-tour, on tour, and after they return. So each educator that chooses to travel is going to have an entire team there for them, obviously pending approval and your guys' support, but that would be myself working with every educator every step of the way to plan the perfect trip and make sure they're ready to go to depart. We also have a tour director. This tour director is with the group 24/7. Once they leave from JFK, they land in their destination. This tour director is with them 24/7, really guiding the tour, in charge of logistics. They're an EF employee, and they really are just the people that make the magic happen and helping to expose the students to the local culture, the local language, the local foods. We also have a traveler support team, which is focused on working directly with parents and students to answer any questions that they might have. So they wouldn't, ever be coming, to the district with questions. They would really be able to sidebar with us to get all of those answers. And then any additional support, just making the trip happen operationally. And this is number one, safety. So as the board, as the superintendent, this is number one for your students, of course, and it's number one for their parents as well. So this is also top of mind for us. So we, like I mentioned, are a global company. We have over 50,000 staff across the world, 126 countries, and we are in every single country that we travel to, every country that we send students to. So we really have local support and insight, local knowledge for anything that might pop up. We are there to support students and the groups and the educators immediately. We also have a 24/7 safety and incident response team that is there for groups, and parents also have access to this line as well as the students to call in the event of a lost passport or a sprained ankle. I promise we have seen it all, so we really have that team that is there to provide support nonstop for the students when they're on tour. We also, of course, are just actively innovating on global standards when it comes to cleanliness, safety, making sure that we're following all of those regulations and guidelines of the countries that we're traveling to and keeping a really strong pulse on that. And then again, eyes and ears on the road between the tour director, the chaperone team, the group leader. There's tons of people that are all working together to keep the group safe and sound. Right, just to mention some other schools nearby that are traveling with us: Patchogue, Sable, East Islip, West Islip, Smithtown, Sachem, and more. And so these are the tours that will be proposed. I have had preliminary conversations with some educators. Ms. Ellen Hoffman has actually led these tours in the past in the high school. And so she's excited to get back up and running, hopefully. And it really just kind of covers the gamut. So we have Paris, we have the Dominican Republic, which is a service-focused trip. We have Italy, who will be run hopefully by one of our Italian teachers, and then also a couple of middle school opportunities as well, which are really built with middle school students in mind. Right. And now I know that equity is a major pillar to everything that you guys do here, making sure that every student, every family has the opportunity to make these opportunities happen. So we do have a few things in place to help offset the cost of these tours. So we have a Global Citizen Scholarship. We give out $1,000 scholarships every single tour year. These are need and merit-based. Any student can apply. And I actually had a couple Long Island students win for the last year. So it can happen, which is very exciting and so fun to see that. But more exciting, we do have a customizable tour fundraising page. So as soon as a student enrolls on a trip, they will get access to a traveler website. In this website, they have a link. With this link, they can send it to family, friends, post it on social media, take it around to local businesses, and ask for donations towards the cost of their tour. And anything donated will start to bring their tour costs down. And 100% of the donations that are made goes towards the cost of their trips. I have seen students from Long Island kind of cover the entire cost of the trip just from asking for donations or asking for holiday gifts, for travel rather than something physical. Just a little bit on the timeline. So obviously today is the 15th of November. We're hoping to have these up for approval at the next meeting if possible, and just kind of offering these opportunities before the holidays and the craziness to make the opportunities as affordable and accessible as possible. All right. And I will pause there. If we have any questions, I'm definitely happy to answer those now. If you have anything, feel free.
The one question that I had, you answered in your presentation already, but I would just like to reemphasize it, is the safety measures for our students and certainly our teachers that are traveling. So I'm glad you keep that as a priority. And how different are sanitary guidelines from country to country with respect to COVID, for example?
Yep. Now that we are a little further out of the pandemic, we are seeing that countries are kind of starting to standardize. Really, across Europe, it's exactly like America, and the same for Latin America and Asia even. It kind of just seems that they're starting to get back to a new normal. I don't like that saying, but yes, so it kind of seems like those are things that we're still keeping an eye on, but there hasn't been, any real changes recently.
Okay.
Do you provide assistance, or is it the participants' responsibility in terms of getting passports and items like that?
So we're happy to provide some guidance on that. However, it will be the responsibility of the families to make sure they have a valid passport.
You were talking about international travel. Do you also offer trips within the 50 states?
We do, yes. So I'm in the international division, but I do have a division that's focused only on domestic travel as well.
Thank you.
Anyone else around the table?
So this is basically this is an additional program or trips. This isn't, say, replacing the DC trip for 8th grade or anything like that. This is just new opportunities to travel abroad for specific.
So, again, a couple of parents approached me about this, a couple of staff members wanted to bring it back. So, we looked into it. I think it's a great opportunity to offer our students. It certainly makes our school district more dynamic. I know there are obviously concerns about global travel and safety, but, they have a long track record, EF Tours. I know Ellen Hoffman, specifically, has been on these trips, and I know some of my former colleagues who used to actually do it as kind of a summer gig, teachers who would participate on these trips. Certainly a worthwhile venture, I think, to pursue. And again, we would be planning for trips in the 24-25 school year. So we have some time to plan, but because of the scope of these trips, it does take that amount of time to sort of plan. And I see Bryn over there smiling. One of the things I discussed with Ellen Hoffman, if this became a possibility for us, is having some alumni come back to work to be able to still participate in the trips, which I'd be open to. I saw you smiling over there. I read it out. So, and again, we could table a vote on whether or not the board is supportive in going forward and pursuing these trips to December 6th. If you want more time to discuss, if you feel confident that this is something worth pursuing, you can certainly make a motion to vote and say, let's just start the work and see, garner the interest from our students and staff, and see if we can make this happen. I don't know how the board feels.
Okay, I have no objections.
Any objections by the board?
No, no
All
objection.
right, so then it's on later in the agenda for the consent item, so we'll deal with it there. But thank you very much for coming and spending some time with us.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. I have a question. Maybe I'm confused.
All right.
I think that this is a different.
This is different.
It's different.
Oh, it is?
Fantastic Tours is the DC trip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have nothing on the agenda
Yeah,
unless we
okay.
have tours signed.
Right.
So do you need a vote from us or just?
We can do a motion.
indication
For what?
Or
To offer tours?
to offer the tours. Would that be a resolution or we need a contract?
We don't need, we
It'll
would
be
need a
in the next
resolution.
agenda,
It'll be
like I
the next
said.
meeting.
Yep.
It'll be the
But it
next.
seems just,
It would be when there's a trip planned.
Then
When
we
there's a
have to
trip
approve-
planned.
We have to approve any overnight or out of.
Yeah, but I think the point is, we wouldn't be doing that until 24, 25, until there's a trip
Exactly.
planned, right? Yeah.
But what you're trying to get from us tonight is whether we think that this is a good idea and
Right.
could be pursued. And I think you got unanimous agreement about that.
All right.
in other words, translations, we don't need a formal vote. When the trip is actually planned and you get to that point, then the board does the final vote.
Gotcha. Okay, so clarifying question, we do have educators that have raised their hands to lead the trips, and have chosen itineraries that if, with your blessing, to move forward with, they would like to begin plans of pushing it out to the community and offering it to students and their families. So, do we need the students enrolled before approval, or just a little clarification?
Looking for the council.
You want to wait till next meeting?
I would have a discussion with your staff about it first.
We have to get a proposal from the staff as to what it is
Correct.
before we can decide if we're gonna approve it.
Exactly, yeah.
So we have some other steps that we will take and hopefully have the final approval ready for December 6th.
Yep.
And then our administration will get back to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Fair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
So shifting gears, really excited to have a presentation by Energia. As I've mentioned in previous board meetings, we're looking into bringing an energy performance contract to South Country, which basically allows us to make capital improvements in a budget-neutral way that'll make the district greener. And one of the things that we can sort of accomplish with this, obviously, is lowering our energy costs. Certainly looking toward modernizing our air quality systems, including the idea for central air, central heating units, to remove all those sort of window units that kind of suck up a lot of energy. To talk a little bit more about the proposed contract, I want to invite Energia and their representatives up to the podium. Michael, I forgot the last name, sorry, Carlson, I know like three other Michael Carlsons, I should remember. Bring up your,
Let me go to slideshow. Great.
I retouch this pad and like, do funky things, I'll try to stay away.
All right, so good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Carlson. I'm a project development engineer with Energia. We also have Doreen Hamilton here tonight, who's representing Energy Systems Group, or ESG, and we're going to be discussing the energy performance contract. So before Doreen comes up to talk about the specifics of their proposal, I just wanted to kind of remind you of who Energia is and make sure it's clear who we are and what our responsibilities are versus ESG and what their responsibilities are. So I came to the board probably about a year ago at this point to share the results of our preliminary assessment, really just trying to gauge the opportunity that the district had here, and with the board's blessing, we went ahead and put out a request for proposals document to solicit proposals from energy services contractors. So that's really what ESG is. They're an energy services contractor that we're here to formally appoint as the winner of the RFP phase tonight. Energia is serving as the district's owner's representative and engineer of record for the project. Essentially what that means is during the development of the project, we provide technical guidance to the school district. These projects are pretty unique, specifically in how they're funded. They're all funded through the guaranteed energy savings that result from the scope of work. So making sure that the way those savings are being calculated now and the way that they're going to be measured at post-construction, you got to make sure that that's all in line with industry standard. It's all realistic numbers. That's really our responsibility to review everything that ESG is sending to the district. We're also the engineer record, so we do all the design. We put together the plans and specifications that get submitted to the state education department. We are a New York-based company, so we have over 125 projects. Majority of those are with public K-12 school districts such as yourself, so definitely understand the market well. We're based in Smithtown. Activity to date, last thing I'll go through before Doreen takes over. Talked about the RFP already. We did receive 4 responses to that RFP. Energia took the lead on reviewing the contents of those proposals, shared our findings with the district administration, and then together with the district administration, conducted interviews with all 4 respondents. After some discussion, we all came to a consensus that ESG would be the best partner for the district to move forward with. So we're here tonight asking the board to pass a resolution that would formally appoint them as the winner of the RFP. I would note that this comes at no cost and no obligation for the district to ultimately move forward with the project. You're really just giving ESG the opportunity to get back into your buildings, work more closely with the district to customize their scope. Everything that ESG shows you tonight is still customizable, nothing set in stone at this point. It's really just a formality to get them formally appointed, and then down the line we'll come back to the board when we have the final project. So that's all I had. If there's any questions, I can answer those now. If not, I'll let Doreen take over. All good? Thank you.
I think I just hit the first button. Thank you. My name is Doreen Hamilton. I'm with Energy Systems Group. I've been working with school systems and municipalities for 33 years and developing energy performance contracts. Gotta go backwards. So I want to talk to you briefly about our project approach, what we've looked at to date. At the end of the day, this is building your project. So we're going to look at your schools, your solutions, what you want to develop long-term, and how we can carve out a successful energy performance contract. At this point, we have a kickoff meeting with your team to develop that final scope of work, and it's very iterative. We have a list of things we looked at. You might say, okay, we like this list, we want to change it to this, or go this way, turn left, turn right. It's all customizable going forward. And then talk about the financial benefits of this and financing. So our approach. One of the things that we do at Energy Systems Group is work with you to bring the students into this process. It's very fun for us because I love math and science. I'm a bit of a nerd, and I love getting people excited about math and science and what it means to them, and talk about careers in this industry. When I was growing up and doing this, I had no idea this even existed. You don't know what you don't know. So bringing the students and engaging them, having them develop an energy baseline, talking about, this is a boiler plant. You know, this big thing that heats the building that no one ever sees, but if there's a problem, we hear the clunk, 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 then they know there's an issue. So telling the students and bringing them through, having to develop the energy baseline, talking about the equipment and what does it mean long-term, and what you can do in a career in this field. We love to go to career fairs, bring subcontractors with us, have the solar people come, everyone to come to talk about how exciting this world is and how it keeps changing, and how it really can affect change, because you don't know what you don't know as a child. I have 4 children, and they're still learning. Your energy baseline. So right now we looked at your energy baseline is about 1.5 million. We're going to do a deep dive into all your energy bills. Look what your supply is, what your costs are, how do you go to market. I don't know why it keeps doing this. Right now we've got $500,000 of projected energy cost savings. So with the scope of work that we've developed so far, it's about $500,000 shaved off your energy bill. What does that do? That brings down your whole carbon footprint, it brings down your energy load, and as you build and redo or add on to buildings, this is just a proactive approach. You're getting what I say, your energy house in order. You're starting that decline in the costs, you're doing infrastructure improvements, and energy performance contracting is the vehicle to do this. This has been around since 1979 from a grant from the Department of Energy. This is when it started, and today we're in 2023, and it's really evolved from that. So we're looking at double-digit reduction in your energy, 25% reduction of electric, fossil fuel, 51 and 37 in natural gas. So it's a significant decrease to your energy consumption today. So how did we do this? We looked at your building conditions report. We looked at your RFP priorities. We went through the buildings, we walked the buildings. What are you seeing? What do you need? We took a few of the check marks. That's what we included in our project to date. Now, when we get in and we do a deeper dive into the facilities, we really ask, is this what you want? Is this boiler plant the priority? Did you want a boiler plant over here? And we have those discussions as we go along. It's a very iterative process and a very collaborative process when we develop the final project. And we have certain stages we go through to develop this. So at the end of the day, everyone knows where we went and where we're going to. So it's a wonderful thing to present to you as when we come back to the board. And it's really fun. So these little check marks, this is the potential infrastructure improvements as we saw today. And the left, we really love 3 letters. Energy conservation measure, demand response solutions, building management supports. And we'll always define them to you because we talk in 3 letters, 3-letter acronyms. So on the left, you'll see the energy conservation measures. They're numbered. On the right are the buildings. The check marks show what has been included today in this project. The dashes are things that we looked at but couldn't put in this project to date. Again, when we sit down, do a deeper dive into the measures, working with Frank and his team and each of the building people, we ask, okay, this is what we saw, this is what we think, this is what we saw from energy reduction, is this where we want to go as a team? So it's very collaborative, and I gotta tell you, as we go through this, it's very fun. And then we talk, do you have any other future capital projects? What are your ideas? Where do you want to go with this? It's just always working together as a team for present and future. So building this project with you, this is where I say the fun begins. We have a kickoff meeting. We'll propose a kickoff meeting shortly with Energia. They run these, and then we'll do what's called a 30, 60, 90% under goal setting. 30% meeting, 30 days in, we talk about this is what we found so far. 60 days out, this is what we're seeing, a little bit more energy conservation measures with the detail of the energy baseline. This is what we think the savings and costs will be. And then from there, is there any changes you want to add, delete, modify? And then we have multiple workshops as we go through. We have measurement and verification. We have financial workshops. We have contractual workshops. We talk about the contract. We talk about training. How do you want to do long-term maintenance planning? Who can we bring in the envelope to help assist with this project? And then engage the local utility for grants, incentives, and rebates. We go on your behalf to look for all of those because we want to look at ways to buy down the cost of the program. There's phenomenal investment tax credit, the ITC, which was approved by the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, in August 2022, again, 3 letters. And that looks for reducing the cost of solar, renewable technologies, geothermal systems, cogeneration, all of those things, again, bring into the envelope. And I know I'm talking very fast, but these are all things that we'll look at for you to help you build a project together, as well as reduce your overall energy spend in these buildings and make it greener. And then the fun part as well, media, website outreach. How can we communicate this out to the community? How can they get involved? We'd like to build a web portal so they can see what we're doing, what's going on, engagement of the students. It's a very fun process with us, but it's collaborative the whole along the way. How do we communicate this out? How do we talk about the positive things that you're doing in your community and getting the kids engaged? Project schedule, this is a very brief overview. ESCO selection, this is a 4-letter word, Energy Services Company, selection of board approval, going by next to the comprehensive energy audit, which takes about 12 weeks. Again, this is all collaborative with you and your team, talking about the process all along, the contract finalization, bringing it up to New York State SED with Energia. They do the design plan, submit it. Again, this is proven all over the state of New York in this process again and again and again. These dates will change a little bit as far as teaming, the SED submission, how fast they turn things, ask questions, but it's a proven process. So project financials as they stand today, this is your project that we proposed originally. Again, this will change as we develop scope and pull scope in, pull scope out, change a building, change a boiler plan, etc. So on the left bar, you see that is the project financing. So that's the financial note or the term. On the right in the blue is your state aid. Again, you'll see the orange bar and the purplish blue bar is flat. They're the same all across the 15-year term, and the energy savings in green. So as you see that the cost or the note of the project is exceeded by the energy and the state aid. So all through this process, you're gonna have a positive cash flow over the 15-year term. So very good news, very positive, and that's the way we build a project. And finally, Superintendent Harrington from Oceanside, we had to pull her out of a couple of these walkabouts with the students because she kept wanting to answer the questions. We were asking about energy, boiler plants, how do you do a baseline. Very excited and very committed to the work we did and how we engage the students in their facilities. And that's all I had. Can I give my over your time?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You want to make any comments before we start
Well,
questions?
I'm excited about the prospect. Energia was working with my former district, Glen Cove, so I kind of saw some of this at work. Thought it was a fantastic idea. You know, they broke ground finally back in Glen Cove. It's one of those things. It's like, why not? It's, when you look at number one, financially, it makes sense. Number two, obviously, we want to reduce our carbon footprint and sort of modernize our schools. I do have, besides Dr. Harrington, who's just featured, I do know a couple other superintendents who work with Energia, and they've all had positive things to say. One of the things that swayed us to your company, I'll make this confession, is the educational component. The fact that, you know, our students are going to be able to sort of learn from this and really learn a little bit more about how our buildings work, our boilers work. Like you said, until we had a power outage at Brookhaven Elementary School, I don't think I've ever been in a boiler room of a school. It was quite scary.
Especially at 11 o'clock at night.
Thanks to our facilities director, Mr. Pirro almost got electrocuted. But we survived it. But I think it's great, and also it might spark interest in these careers, whether you want to be an engineer, talk about energy conservation. I just think it's good all around, and certainly our facilities need it. When I walk or peruse our buildings, and I see all these like window units that are really just sucking up energy, it does bother me. And we should have better control of air quality and certainly our energy consumption. So that's my endorsement.
Okay. Questions? I would like to, no, I'm sorry. This is our board meeting. I would like to hear from Frank.
Yeah.
And from Jen, our Assistant Superintendent of Finance, Frank Pirro, who is the Director of Facilities. You know, I would assume that you've endorsed this.
Yes.
And why they're here today. But if you could just give us the highlights of like what the superintendent did, what intrigued you about Energia and going forward. If you could just come up to the podium so that you can be seen and just give us your take and.
Thank you.
And also, because I know Miss Segee hates when we call her up, but unannounced, I know, I kind of blindsided you with this one.
Yeah,
But the projections on the savings, you know, are they realistic from your standpoint? And then certainly the reducing the carbon footprint from your standpoint, you know, the
So-
realistic goals.
the carbon footprint is obviously, that's like the major plus of this, but also the tying of like the health of the buildings, like just the you know, the air quality and having a healthy, safe environment. But this is just a great vehicle that amongst other things that we could use here to improve, you know, what we have going on in the buildings, you know, whether it's a pond or this, it just creates another avenue to make things easier to clean out or improve the district.
And to the finance piece, I mean, it was really collaborative because obviously I have to defer to Frank and the team as far as the savings that are gonna be generated. But I drilled down into those cash flows and, you know, it's there's no mismatch. It's 15 years of payments, it's 15 years of savings, and it's the scope of the project as far as financially is exactly where we wanted to land. It wasn't huge, you know, a huge number, it wasn't too small, it was like right in the middle where we felt we needed to be. So that's why, one of the other reasons why we went with ESG and their scope of work.
Okay.
Yeah, also, I like the way they took into consideration the building condition surveys. They were able to, you know, sometimes it's hard to take that into consideration, but what I'm viewing and what they're viewing. So it was more collaborative, and they seem to be more adaptive to what the needs are here, instead of, you know, some of the other ESCOs were more like, this is what you need, bullheaded, this is, you know what I mean?
Right.
But like, just because you're seeing that, does it work for your, you know, vision? Did it work for South Country's vision? And they seem to be more adaptive, and I feel like heading with this project, the magnitude of it is gonna work out better with that.
Well, I liked hearing that things will change, because it's not until you do the deep dive into what you're
That's
doing,
right.
you're going to find out exactly what we need.
Yeah.
And the building condition survey was done by our architect.
Correct.
How much will our architecture firm be involved in this project?
So this would be separate from
Okay.
what they would be doing. So if there was like any other projects involved, of course, there would be collaboration. But at this point, this would stand alone,
But certainly, what we've already identified, Energia has seen.
100%. So in one of the slides, it actually showed which pieces will collaborate with the building condition surveys, with the priorities. And so it aligns, pretty much almost everything we did aligned with the building condition surveys. So, in other words, there are certain things that may not, but most likely, most of it did all align with that. So, in other words, in the long run, the architects did have some kind of input into it, indirectly.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Did you, now back to Mike and Doris?
Doreen.
Doreen, sorry.
That's good.
So what was your opinion of our building condition survey? Was it consistent with what you've seen in other districts? Did it fit in, well, obviously, how did it fit in, how well did it fit in? to
It's
what
very,
you're
it's very
proposing?
similar. So these give us a really good, what I call baseline of where you wanna go. Kind of gives you a path of these are some things you wanna do. So I always say, we always have a list that's this big, but what we can fit in performance contracting is this big, and then you have other stuff to do. Whether it's bond or capital or another methodology. We're basically, it's a financial vehicle and a capital improvement vehicle that funds a very creative solution a different way versus going out to a bond. You could do a tax exempt lease. It's seen differently in your books from your financial advisors will tell you this in a very positive light. So it's a great benefit and a great vehicle to get stuff done.
All right. Before any of you leave, we'll go around the.
Yeah, I mean, I just
Go right
want to
ahead.
say, I think that this is an important project but it also, it's great stewardship for our community.
For sure.
The money that they trust in us for our facilities and to get these type of things that are not going to cost us, but ultimately be upgrades, I think is just very important.
Anybody else? Anybody else? All right. Well, certainly the student component is very attractive,
Yeah.
very attractive. And I appreciate that your team is diverse in bringing this information to us.
So it was a huge plus, exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are now to board consent agenda for curriculum, item G.
Thank you, President Felice. The administration recommends approval of curriculum items reflected in schedules G1 through G3.
All right, can we have a motion for G1 through G3? Motion by trustee Barry, seconded by trustee Kavanaugh. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. That brings us to consent agenda item for personnel, item H.
Thank you. The administration recommends approval of personnel changes reflected in schedules H1 through H8.
H8. Okay, H1 through H8, need a motion and a second? Anybody on this side of the room? Trustee Flippin, seconded by trustee Hayes. Vice President Hayes, I'm sorry. Any discussion?
Just a quick question. The first one, 1.1, isn't that season over already?
That's a resignation.
Season's over.
Yeah, okay.
It was a week
But it was
before
a
the
week
season
ago.
ended.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah,
The effective date is 10/18.
10/24 was the
Got
end
it.
of the season.
okay. All right. Okay, any further questions? Seeing no further questions, all those in favor of H1 through 8, raise your hands. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. Now we're on to board consent agenda item for business.
Yes, the administration recommends approval of business items reflected in schedules I1 through I13.
Okay. Again, need a motion and a second for I1 through I13. Trustee Flippin, seconded by trustee Barry. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. That brings us to public commentary for non-agenda items. Okay. We have several cards. And first, if I can read the regulations to public commentary. The regularly scheduled meeting of the South Country Central School District, listed on the calendar, usually held the first and third Wednesdays of the month, encourages comments on agenda and non-agenda items alike, but sets certain guidelines for that discussion. A school community member who wishes to speak must complete a comment form, as seen here, obtained from the district clerk. Comments for each speaker are limited to 3 minutes. There will be no sharing of minutes. Public sessions are limited to 30 minutes and continue as long as they are conducted in an orderly fashion. All questions must be directed to the Board of Education and be relevant to school district matters. Comments from the audience on any agenda item will be heard after the board superintendent communication announcements. Comments from the audience on any non-agenda item will be heard after all board agenda items are acted on. The board may recognize a speaker not more than twice on the same topic. Neither the South Country Board of Education nor the superintendent of schools will entertain in public comments related to personnel matters or individual students. Please be aware that both staff and student privacy are protected under the law. If you have a personnel concern or an issue regarding a staff member or student or students, please contact the superintendent of schools at 631-730-1500. And with that, we will begin with the cards. And the first card is from Lynn Mayer. If you would step up to the podium, please. The district clerk will set the clock that you'll be able to see.
Okay, that's great.
All right?
Okay, we're starting ready. My name is Lynn Marr, and I am a resident of Brookhaven for the past 36 years. My concern today is I wanted to ask the school board to address or answer some questions about the projects that the IDA are dealing with right now, the warehouses that they're building. My concern, I don't have any children, but my concern is for the children of the school district, which I believe is also your purview. And I think that there's been a fair amount of back and forth about this. And I am asking the board to support asking the IDA not to give these people tax exemptions to these multi-million-dollar companies for many reasons. I know it's not taking money away from the school budget, but it's money that could be part of a school budget. The other thing is that these warehouses are contributing to an area that's already an environmental justice area and a disadvantaged community with many cumulative effects that affect the health and the welfare of the people who live in the fence line community. That, well, it's not even a fence line community now. This whole area, I feel like South Brookhaven has become an area that they're making it into a sacrifice zone where they're just putting all this stuff here, and because people don't object to it, they're just putting it here. So my question to the board, I've heard that it's not in your lane. I've heard many different stories, but I feel personally that it is in the purview of the board to have as much money in the budget for a school district like South Country Schools. That's it.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Next we have William, is it Kakel?
Okay, yeah.
Hello, everyone, and thank you. My name is William Coquel. I live in East Patchogue. I am a disabled veteran, United States Army. It was a while ago. I was brought up in the 40s and 50s, and I know the difference of what's going on today and in those days. And I'm here for the children, not for myself. I'm here for children that are education challenged. There's 6,000 kids on Long Island every day they're challenged for food. 800,000 people in New York State are challenged every day for food. I bring this up because I had a commitment in minimum security jail in the 90s, in the early 90s. And you couldn't see, when you go down Girard Avenue, you couldn't see the landfill. I had a commitment on the other side in the homeless shelter. And I used to pick up children there and take them out to the gym in Shirley. Veterans Memorial Boxing. I did that for 15 years. I saw kids that were without food. And of course, you all know if you're not eating right, I don't think your education is too good. So, I'll say one more thing. There's a gym right up here in the outlet. It's the same gyms, but Veterans Memorial Boxing. I volunteered there too. And I go there for the kids, that's why I do it. And in the back there's a pathway, and they do wind sprints up and down. And when you look at them to the east, you can see the dump right behind the landfill, right behind these children that depend on me as a coach, whether they know it or not, that they breathe fresh air, that they have food, that they have an education.
You can wrap, excuse me, sir, you can wrap up. Just wrap up with what you were saying, please.
And I'm sorry, part of my disability with the military is I don't hear well. My wife says I don't hear at all. So it's just, I'm very concerned, like when, with the growth. I drove up and down Station Road in 1950 and 60 when I was working on the North Shore. And it was all farmland. You used to see the laborers out on the field. And go up that road now and with the diesel trucks. And now they're building these warehouses for these trucks. Go online and you'll see the dirt on diesel, what it's like to breathe diesel. Those kids play basketball out there, they run up and down, and they're breathing this stuff. It's on and on. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your service. Next, we have Michelle Santatorino.
Thank you. My name is Michelle Santantonio.
I'm sorry.
I've been a resident in Bellport for 50.5 years, paying taxes to the school district. And I am here today to urge your formal opposition to the Brookhaven IDA granting any pilots or payments in lieu of taxes to the ARIS Management Corp. I'm asking that you act on behalf of our district and voice opposition to the Brookhaven Industrial Development Agency and urge their rejection of the pending property and sales tax application of ARIS Management Corporation for their proposed 500,000 square feet truck terminal and warehouse complex at the southeast corner of Station Road and the Long Island Railroad in Yaphank, along with any additional IDA tax exemption applications within the South Country Central School District. I do hope you will include and consider my comments objecting to the pilot request for ARIS management. As logic and experience demonstrate, there is inadequate evidence or expectation of any worthwhile benefit to be derived in the health or economic situation for the sorely affected community that will once again be most impacted, as Bill was discussing. Nor is there any financial need for tax breaks demonstrable by ARIS. This is a huge corporation that has lots of money. They don't need tax benefit. The Bellport South Country School District should not again suffer the loss of needed tax revenue that would result by such an action. Specifically, I refer to this notice circulated recently by a local organization, the Brookhaven Village Association. On Wednesday, November 15th, the Brookhaven IDA Board CEO, Lisa Mulligan, will revisit the tax exemption application from ARIS Management, an international real estate corporation, for a request for a payment in lieu of taxes that would go to our district, arrangement that could add up to $10 million for over 5 years. ARIS is planning to develop a 500,000 square foot diesel truck terminal warehouse on the southeast corner of Station Road and the Long Island Railroad in Yaphank. This is one of 2 proposals from ARIS. Another property located nearby at the northeast corner of Sunrise Highway and Station Road would include 3 buildings totaling 520,100 square feet. According to an article from, I'm running out, IDA from WSHU, the IDA delayed a motion on the pilot proposal last month, citing concern for the developer providing misleading information to the community. I was at that meeting. Initially, the developer said during a Brookhaven Town Planning Board meeting that the warehouse would generate property taxes rather than meeting the requested tax rate. They went back on that quickly. Roughly 70% of our district residents' property taxes fund our South Country public schools. Giving yet another billion-dollar corporation a tax break keeps our schools from delivering their highest potential and undeservedly puts the squeeze on homeowners to cover that school budget. And I have an example. In Louisiana, the state reformed their tax exemption for oil companies And the increase in overall property tax revenue has translated into a drastic increase in funding for specific parish services statewide. An additional $113 million for schools, $55 million for law enforcement, and $115 million for other services, roads, drainage, levees, parks, and libraries annually. In just one example, in West Baton Rouge Parish, annual funding for schools increased by $10 million, representing 27% of the school's entire budget. This increase was enough to hire 200 new teachers. Imagine what the South Country School District could do with $10 million over the next 5 years. There is also no assessment of what the wear and tear on our infrastructure or damage to our environment will be with a diesel truck warehouse and its traffic taking up residents. Roughly 40% of our county budget is made up by sales tax, in which Aris is also seeking an exemption in paying. The budget funds our county road repairs and environmental services such as soil and water testing. So let's see what $10 million can do for our schools and our children. The board will make a big impact if they would express their opposition. Thank you for your anticipation, for your anticipated consideration and due diligence in voicing objection to approving Aris Management Corp. Requests for approving the payment in lieu of taxes. Thank you.
Thank you for your
And I have
comments.
copies. Two copies here. Hugh,
Did you read from this entire sheet here? Is that what you read
just
from?
about all of it.
Okay. Okay, so we'll put that in there. Come on, everybody. We'll make sure the entire board gets a copy of the opening
Thank
statement. Okay. And last we have Kareem Otakam.
Good evening. My name is Karim Otakon. I'm a parent of a third grader at Brookhaven and a fifth grader at Frank P. Long. I'm a physician educator, I'm a NYSET UP member, and I'm a taxpayer. I'm here to inquire about the BOE's position on the town IDA repeatedly defunding our school district through property tax exemptions, 70%, which would otherwise fund our district. Earlier this year at a budget talk, Superintendent Santana told the public that the IDA defunding our district is, quote, not in the lane of the school district. Later that year, the BOE and the district passed a budget rolling back our district's instructional budget, which funds teachers and teachers' aides, to 2018-2019 levels. So we had a $2.4 million cut, which I'm told was largely through attrition. We were never over budgeted for instructional funding. Reinvesting savings from attrition would improve outcomes in our district. No other neighboring district cut their instructional budget in the past 5 years. Not Longwood, not William Floyd, not Pat Med. I talked to the whole board about this. A few months ago when I was speaking with Trustee Kavanaugh regarding these instructional budget cuts, I raised the question about the district's silence on IDA exemptions. I've been coming to this board for 2 years now asking for board to speak out. I was told that the board has taken a position as to the IDA and the pilots, and that that's the position of the district, and the position that Trustee Kavanaugh took, which she believed the position the district is taking, is that the issue of the pilots is that they are a creature of the state legislature, and that we don't have the power to change it. And the fact is that even with the pilot, we're getting some money. We're not getting all the money that we should be getting, but we're getting more than zero. But if we take a position that we're going to fight it to get more, we're not going to get any money. All right? This is not true. This is not true in Syosset. It's not true anywhere in Long Island. Last month, the IDA extended an exemption application for a 500,000 square foot warehouse in our district. Today they did it for another one, which was mentioned earlier, along with another project in our district. You know what does the BOE know what else the IDA did today? They passed a moratorium on subsidizing speculative warehouses. After they approved 3 million square feet of warehouses in our school district tax exemptions and extended the applications for another 1 million square feet. Even the IDA does not believe these property tax waivers actually induce development for speculative warehouses. So I want to ask the board, what's the evidence from the BOE that these industries would not be built if the BOE raised concerns regarding the loss of tax revenue for our students? I sent the board a video of the developer of the one that was approved, extension that was approved today. The developer said himself that he isn't convinced that they even want the exemption. They applied just because they could, that it's available. When I spoke to President Felice regarding my concerns around the $2.4 million instructional budget cut, I was told that without this cut, we would have a tax levy which was 2% higher and implied that we would end up with an austerity budget. So I want to know, what's the position of the board on these IDA exemptions? We are the most impacted tax jurisdiction. The IDA asks for the district's input, yet the district refuses to submit comments speaking up against these exemptions. Why? Again, since I've raised this issue with the BOE, the IDA approved or accepted applications for 4 million square feet of diesel truck terminals, with the district submitting, or the district and the BOE submitting no public concerns to the IDA regarding the loss of tax revenue. Why does the board feel empowered to cut our instructional budget for teachers and teachers' aides while, my kid's class size increased this year from the start of the year? While taxes are being waived for multi-billion-dollar speculative housing developers, why can districts like Syosset and Riverhead Board of Education speak out when ours is silent? We have the same attorneys as Riverhead, but our BOE refuses to speak out. The fact that and then the last thing is that, the districts I cited significantly increased their instructional budgets, unlike our district. So I'm asking the board, I don't understand, what is the district's position?
The opportunity for you to speak is to give us your input. You know the drill.
But I email you, I don't get input back.
I'm going to summarize where we're at after the comments are made. So if you have any more comments you want to make them, and then I will.
I just have one question on the Energia proposal.
Sure.
Like, we have solar on every building here, but it doesn't work. So I've asked the district, like, why aren't we connecting, fixing the existing solar for the past decade? And there's I foiled the district, and they have no estimates of how much it would cost to do this. And so it just makes you wonder, like, we're going into this big initiative, but I never got any clear feedback from the district on what went wrong in the first place. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much for your comments. So, so typically, you heard the administrative content of what we, the rules the policy that's been set up for input from the community. And we honor and respect the input that all of you gave tonight. It's not, I don't want you to ever think, and I want anyone watching tonight to think that it doesn't get acted upon. It absolutely does. And some of the comments that were made, we would disagree with. Some of the comments that were made, I would say were taken out of context. But at no time, you saw the busy agenda that we have here tonight. This district is moving in leaps and bounds to advance our educational opportunities for our students. And we do comment on the IDA projects. We have commented. We have showed up in person. We have sent letters. And we are in our fact-finding mission right now about all of the IDA exemptions that can be levied by that IDA committee. We're also learning that not every town municipality has an IDA. That it's, it's up to the local townships if they want it. It's all regulated through the New York State Comptroller's Office. So we also heard that the moratorium was passed today as well as the extension on the Station Road project. So I would say that is a compliment to the advocates here in the audience who made their voices heard to the IDA, and even they have called a halt on some of these projects because, like was said, the proposer indicated they didn't even need a tax break, yet they were still applying for it simply because they could. And it caused them to pause, and that's what your role is. Our role is, and we'll get into explaining how pilots affect the budget, how pilots affect you as taxpayers, because it's just because a pilot is issued doesn't mean money is taken from the district. But that's a conversation for a different day, and a conversation that we want to have with the public, and we'll have that. So I guess how I want to conclude, unless the superintendent wants to add anything, is that everything that we hear and receive from you is looked at very, very seriously. And like I said, our fact-finding mission is well underway and in progress to address the needs, to make sure our district is well cared for. Anything else?
I have no comment. I do want to say that there is a narrative out there, or comments made about making cuts to our instructional programs. The fact is, we added $5 million in instructional programs in last year's budget. Making budget cuts does not equate to making budgetary, programmatic cuts. We added staff, we added resources, we added programs, we restructured sixth grade programs to better meet the needs. So this idea that we cut from our instructional programs is false. We actually added over $5 million in programs while reducing the budget. That's just called efficient budget process and being mindful of how we spend taxpayer money. But we did in fact add over $5 million in instructional programs to the school district. The overall budget was cut. That is true. The net cut, we cut, I think, $7 million worth of line items in our $142 million budget. But the net result was a little over a $2.4 million reduction in the overall budget. But again, cutting $7 million, adding $5 million, you get that net difference. But we added programs, and we're looking at ways, and creative ways, to continue to add programs that best support student learning. So I take exception to that sort of narrative because it's just not true. We added educational programs in the amount of $5 million plus.
I have a
Thank
follow-up
you.
question.
Thank you. Wait, talk to us after the meeting. We'll
I know
talk
it-
at the meeting.
Conversation, I thought.
Not a conversation.
This brings us up to meeting closures and remarks by, closing remarks by board members. Any closing remarks? Yes.
I just wanted to share, for my professional life, I'm the Chief Development Officer for Island Harvest Food Bank. And last meeting I wasn't at because it happened to coincide with our gala. And I did want to recognize Sarah Kennard, who is the social worker at Kramer Elementary School, who was not selected by me, but selected by our programs staff to speak about our Children's Weekend Backpack Program. And, obviously we do this with schools all across Long Island, but I just wanted to recognize the passion that she brought to the speech and her ability to get support for children in our community who are hungry on the weekend, and how that would impact their educational endeavors, and how when they return on Mondays and can access the breakfast and lunch in the school, what a difference that makes. And I thought it was a beautiful sentiment. And what really hit me hard in particular was the fact that when she attended, she would have been one of those children. Ultimately, to be able to say that, these type of programs and this kind of support is going on in our school district, I think is a very important one. Again, I think it represented our school district very well. And I've had so many people come up to me who are not in our school district to talk about what a great advocate that she is for children here on Long Island. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee. I did follow up with Ms. Kennard to talk more about food insecurity and what we can do above and beyond our free lunch and breakfast programs. I too am a product of public schools who benefited from having lunch in school and breakfast.
Trustee Kavanaugh?
I just wanted you to say louder, because I know Mr. Coquel said it helps if we speak louder, but we do have free breakfast and lunch for all our students.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
No,
Okay. Anybody? Okay. All right. Again, thank you everybody for attending tonight, and thank you to those speakers for bringing up your well-attended issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Need a motion to adjourn?